The first thing Verret Junction gave you was a smile. That should have been enough warning. Transit hubs don't smile. They process. They charge. They point you to the fuel bay and hand you a receipt and let you get on with it. Verret smiled like it had been practicing, and the smile didn't reach anything behind it. I docked the Pelion Gorse on a Tuesday by my ship's clock, inbound for the Calder run with a hold full of bulk grain and a cracked secondary injector that needed 2 days and a parts shop. Junction Ops cleared me cheerfully, assigned me a bay, and sent a welcome packet with a map of the commissary, the exchange house, and what they called the hospitality suite. I filed it in the same place I file all welcome packets and went to find the parts shop. The parts shop was closed for inventory. It would reopen Thursday, the cheerful desk officer told me. Possibly Friday, depending on supply chain. He was sorry for the inconvenience. He offered me a voucher for the commissary. I took the voucher and went back to the ship and started making a list. That's what I do when something doesn't sit right. I don't argue, not yet. I make a list. How long have I been here? What have I spent? What have they told me? What have they not told me? It's a habit from 22 years of freight runs on routes where the only person watching out for the Pelion Gorse was me. I was on the 3rd page of the list when I heard the sound from the maintenance crawlway aft of the engine housing. Not a mechanical sound. Too irregular for that. Something breathing. I pulled the access panel and shone a work light into the crawlway, and the light found a pair of eyes looking back at me. Copper-colored irises, wide and still. An oral child, ash-pale skin, copper hair matted with pipe grease, wearing what had once been a gray tunic, now worn thin. Small, young, wedged in behind the coolant housing with her knees, pulled to her chest, and an expression that was not fear exactly, but watchfulness. The kind of watchfulness that has been going on a long time. I said, "You all right in there?" She looked at me for a long time before she said anything. Oral children have a lower blink rate than humans. Another 3 seconds passed before her eyes moved at all. Then she said, in the trade tongue, with a precision that suggested she had been listening to adults use it for a long time, "You haven't left yet." "My part shop's closed," I said. "They're all closed," she said. "They're always closed until Thursday. Then they find something wrong with your papers. Then it's the cargo manifest. Then the fees start." I sat down on the deck plate. "How long have you been in there?" She thought about it. 43 ships, she said. I asked her name. Set. I asked where she came from. She told me she had come in on a transport with her family 7 months ago, bound for the colony worlds on the outer reach. The transport had stayed too long. Her parents had gone to the exchange house to argue about the impound fees, and she had not seen them after that. She had learned the crawlways. She had stayed small enough and quiet enough that the junction's operators hadn't found her, and she had watched 43 ships dock and process and gradually, ship by ship, not leave. I asked her to show me what she meant. She led me through the crawlways for 2 hours, which I will not forget. The maintenance tunnels ran under the whole of the way station, and Set had learned them the way a child learns the only safe geography available. She showed me 3 ships in the far bays that were still docked, their crews housed in the hospitality suite, which was, I now understood, simply a contained waiting area. Their cargo holds opened and emptied under ongoing inspection orders, their departure clearances perpetually pending one more review. She showed me the scratched ledger on the interface of junction pipe F7, which she had been maintaining herself. Vessel name, registry, date of arrival, date the crew stopped being seen. 43 entries above my own ship's name, which she had added 2 days ago in small, careful letters. I stood in the crawlway and read it by work light and did not say anything for a while. 43 entries. Some of the vessel names I recognized from the Calder shipping registry. Working freighters, a passenger transport with a Colony World license, a small medical courier. Not pirates, not unlicensed runners. Ordinary ships on ordinary routes who had stopped for fuel and parts, and a friendly smile. The ledger had dates beside some of them. The gaps between arrival and last sighting ranged from 9 days to 3 weeks. I thought about what 3 weeks of escalating fees and impound orders and processing hold could do to a working freighter's crew. What it would cost in money, in schedule, in patience, until they ran out of all 3, and whatever happened in the exchange house happened. Set watched me read. She didn't prompt me or explain further. She had already said everything that mattered. Then I took her back to the Pelion Gorse, fed her from the galley. She ate in the controlled way of someone who had been rationing for months and didn't want to show it, and opened a channel to the Transit Authority relay at Sector 12. The Junction's desk officer came to my bay 20 minutes later, still smiling. He told me my departure clearance had unfortunately been flagged for a routine cargo review and would I mind stepping inside to the processing office to complete the paperwork. I told him I was in the middle of a transmission and would be along shortly. He said the processing office preferred timely compliance. I told him I understood and appreciated his patience. He left. I kept transmitting. This is the thing about a place like Verith Junction. It is built on the assumption that the people it catches will respond like freight. Freight complies. Freight can be moved, delayed, filed, rerouted, held pending review. A ship captain who simply sits in his bay and keeps his cargo locked and keeps transmitting is not in any category the Junction's procedures address. There's no form for someone who won't move. I had been transmitting for 4 hours when the second officer came. He was less cheerful. He told me my continued occupation of Bay 17 without processing compliance was a violation of Junction docking regulations and carried significant penalties. I told him I was noting that for the record and asked him to confirm his name and identification number for the transmission log. He did not confirm his name and identification number. He left. Set sat in the co-pilot's chair and watched the bay door. She had stopped explaining things to me by now and had started simply waiting, which told me something about how much hope she had allowed herself. I did not try to fill the waiting with words. I kept transmitting, kept the cargo locked, kept both hands on the controls. 41 hours after I opened the first channel, the Transit Authority cutter docked at Verith Junction's primary port. I heard it on the traffic feed. I kept the Pelion Gore sealed until I saw the authority badges through the bay window, and then I opened the door and walked out with Set beside me, her hand in mine, and I did not let go of it the entire time I spoke to the inspectors. What they found in the exchange house records took another 2 weeks to process. I'm not going to recount it here. It's in the official filing if anyone wants to read it. The ships in the far bays were cleared. The crews from the hospitality suite came out looking thin and stunned. The Junction's operators were still smiling when the inspectors walked them out, which was the most unsettling thing I witnessed across the whole of it. And I've been running freight for 22 years. Set's family had been held in a secondary processing block on the lower level. Her father had a broken wrist that hadn't been set correctly. Her mother was fine. When they came out and she saw them, she let go of my hand. I stood at the bay entrance and watched the reunion and then went back to the Pelion Gorse and made a cup of something hot and sat with it. An hour later, Set came back alone to the door of the ship. She looked at me for a moment with those copper-colored eyes, the low blink rate, the watchfulness that I suspected was going to be with her for a long time regardless of what came next. "You stayed," she said. "My part shop is closed," I said. She considered this with the gravity that oral children bring to everything. Then she turned and went back to her family. I got my injector replaced on the Friday. The actual part shop was operating fine once the Junction's licensing was suspended, and I cleared Verith airspace by the end of the afternoon. I've added my own entry to the pipe ledger before I left. Not ship name, just a line. 43 ships passed through here. One of them stopped transmitting long enough to listen to a child. The rest is in the filing.